I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel like I was ready for it. And like I said, my time at K-State kind of hardened me, and obviously it wasn't on the stage that this necessarily is. But I'm ready. I feel like nothing that is worth getting ever comes easy, and I feel like this opportunity here was just too good to pass up.
6 months later,
Will Howard's been gaming. He's gotten a lot better, and he's been doing his thing. Great reads. He's only thrown 1 interception all camp.
Yeah, I saw it.
And
that was to you.
But nah, man, he's a great leader. Great person. He's a vet, and he's a great quarterback.
Good for you, Will Howard. Dude has been putting in work this off season. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Will Howard getting praised for taking control of the Ohio State offense. Will Howard is a transfer quarterback from Kansas State, as he is supposed to represent an upgrade from Kyle McCord. Ohio State has insanely high expectations this season, as anything less than a Big Ten championship would be considered a failure. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Can Will Howard lead Ohio State into winning a Big Ten championship this season? Yes, I believe Ohio State will get the job done in terms of being able to win their conference and being able to make the college football playoff. Ohio State has not been able to win their conference in the last 3 seasons, despite having super teams in each of those seasons. The reason for that was because they kept losing to Michigan all those years. Well, last time I checked, Jim Harbaugh is no longer at Michigan. And yes, I know they lost to the Sharon Moore-led Michigan team, but Michigan is not going to be as good this year compared to last year. In fact, I think Michigan is going to fall off compared to last season. They lost a bunch of seniors, they lost their starting quarterback, they lost their starting running back, and they lost their head coach in Jim Harbaugh. Sharon Moore is a solid head coach, but trust me, he is no Jim Harbaugh. Sharon Moore is just a regular good coach. Jim Harbaugh, on the other hand, is a superstar head coach in college football. Now he is in the NFL as the head coach of the Chargers. I really believe Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten, and it's not really close. You look at how they added a lot of new teams into the Big Ten. Now they have to play against teams like USC and Oregon, which is just absolutely weird for me to say, because when you think about USC and Oregon, you think about those teams playing in the Pac-12, but now they play in the Big Ten. It honestly feels like the Big Ten is entirely overcrowded, but that's what happens when you keep most of the teams from the Big Ten and then you include in some teams from the Pac-12. Now you get teams like USC and UCLA traveling all the way up to Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, and you're thinking, wow, this is basically a professional sports league at this point, because all these teams are traveling so far across the country. So it's absolutely going to be different, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because Ohio State was already the best team in the Big Ten to begin with, and now they're still the best team in the Big Ten. And you want to know why they are going to be the best team in the Big Ten? It's because of the fact that they got Will Howard playing the quarterback position. Even if you are not high on Will Howard, you guys have to admit that he is better than Kyle McCord. Will Howard is a bigger sized quarterback, and more importantly, he's got a cannon for an arm, and he's sneaky athletic. I know he hasn't really enjoyed a lot of team success, but that's because he was at Kansas State. What do you honestly expect a quarterback to do at Kansas State? It's not exactly like Will Howard was set up for success over there. Now he's being set up for success at Ohio State because they can run the football at a high level. Their offensive line is awesome. Their wide receivers are freaking incredible. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, this Ohio State offense is going to make fireworks happen. They have a new offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly that really excites me a lot, because Chip Kelly is overqualified to be an offensive coordinator. I know some people don't really like Chip Kelly's spread offensive schemes, but I'm telling you what, man, Ohio State's offense is going to tremendously improve because of Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly understands how to get the most out of wide receivers and quarterbacks at the college level. And you look at how Chip Kelly, he's going to make Will Howard have a really good year. In fact, don't be surprised if Will Howard takes a Joe Burrow type of leap. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I'm just saying don't be surprised if Will Howard enters himself in the Heisman Trophy race, because the dude is one of the better football players out there in the country. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's sneaky athletic. His accuracy is not necessarily the greatest in the world, but with the wide receivers he's going to be throwing to, he's not going to need to be the most most accurate quarterback out there. He just needs to figure out a way how to put the ball in playmakers' hands. You look at all the weapons they have in the running game and receiving game, and you're saying to yourself, wow, what a team Ohio State has been able to build. And then, of course, you got to rave about the defense. They can pass rush their quarterback really well. Their secondary is awesome. Their linebackers can tackle really well. Ohio State is one of the more complete teams in college football. In fact, I think it's pretty clear that Ohio State is a top 2 team in college football. And if you don't believe Ohio State is a top 2 team in college football, I still think Ohio State is a top 3 team in college football. The only team that I think is definitively better than Ohio State is Texas, but that's because Texas has a super team out there. I fully expect Texas to win the national championship this upcoming season. But even if you don't believe in Texas, they might have to deal with Georgia. Obviously, we know the deal with Georgia. Their defense is good. Their quarterback play is all right. It's not necessarily the greatest in the world, but he is a Heisman Trophy candidate. So watch out for a guy like Carson Beck. But I think Ohio State's team is better. I also like their play caller as well. I love the upgrade that they made to Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was a solid head coach at UCLA, but he basically quit being a head coach so he can go ahead and be an offensive coordinator. I know it sounds like a demotion, but we know Chip Kelly is not great at managing people. We know that Chip Kelly is awesome at designing plays. And when you're an offensive coordinator at the college level, you have more time on your hands to design plays compared to when you are a head coach in college football. We know Chip Kelly excels at getting the most out of skilled players. That's what he has done his entire career. That's why he was so good at Oregon as a head coach on offense. And you look at how he was able to get good production out of Dorian Thompson-Robinson at UCLA. Chip Kelly knows college football at a high level. And as for Ryan Day, I know a lot of Ohio State fans hate the guy right now, but the guy is a solid head coach. The main problem with Ryan Day is that he gets owned to Jim Harbaugh. But whenever he doesn't coach against Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day is one of the better coaches in college football. Yes, I know it's because he has a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits on his roster and they play nobody on their schedule, but to be able to consistently beat teams that you're supposed to beat on the schedule is still impressive, because that tells me your team is focused during the week. They're playing it one game at a time and they're not constantly disrespecting their opponent by not preparing for the game in the right manner. Ohio State is well coached. It's just that they had the Jim Harbaugh factor, because Jim Harbaugh has been owning Ohio State the last 3 years. But the good news for Ohio State is Jim Harbaugh is no longer coaching at Michigan. Now the biggest hurdle Ohio State will have to overcome is beating Oregon. But I think they're going to go ahead and beat Oregon, because Oregon doesn't really have any defense whatsoever. Yes, they have a defensive-minded head coach in Dan Lanning, but their defense is not good whatsoever. Ohio State, if they get into a shootout with Oregon, they're going to win against those guys. As far as what I think they're going to go this year, I think they're going to go 11-1 at worst. I really don't think Ohio State is going to lose a game, though, because Ohio State's schedule is ridiculously easy. They don't really have anybody tough outside of Oregon and Michigan. The only reason why they might lose to Oregon is because they lose in the shootout, not necessarily because Oregon's defense is actually going to get any stops on Ohio State. And the reason why I say Michigan is because it's a rivalry game. It's 50-50. You never know what's going to happen, even though this year I think Ohio State is going to beat Michigan, because I don't think Michigan is going to be that good compared to last year. It's interesting to see how it will play out, though, because Ohio State, they've got one of the easier paths into the college football playoff, and I think they're going to get in rather easily. Remember, whoever wins conference automatically gets a top 4 seed in college football, so we'll see what happens. Ohio State is going to get the job done. I believe Will Howard is going to have a good year for Ohio State. He's going to serve as an upgrade over Kyle McCord, if nothing else, but I think Will Howard could be a Heisman Trophy finalist, or at least a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate. I think the guy is going to be really good in college football for Ohio State. He's just never had a real opportunity to prove himself. But you know what? Will Howard is a gamer. He knows how to throw the football pretty far. He's got a cannon for an arm. It's just that he needs to work on his accuracy. But with the receivers Ohio State has, his accuracy is not going to be that big of a deal. I'm not too worried about the concerns of Will Howard. I know the dude has been putting in work this year. He's going to be a great quarterback at the college level if he gets a real opportunity at Ohio State. So that's why Will Howard will lead Ohio State into winning a Big Ten championship this season, as Kyle McCord will represent a major upgrade over Kyle McCord at the quarterback position. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I'm going to shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinNasTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNasTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNasTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. hopefully you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.